Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Joe. Today we're looking at how to preserve meat without freezing it, canning it, doing any of those things. We're talking about confit. And if you're not familiar with confit, it's a French term and it's spelled really weird, but it basically means sticking something in fat. So it turns out you can actually preserve meat with that. So that's pretty cool. We're talking to Jill at Baker's Green Acres today. Let's jump right into this. This is the Anyone Can Farm experience. Hey Jill, how's it going? Good. Can you walk us through this? Confit.
Yeah. Confit is merely a way of cooking and preserving about anything in fat. Lots of fat. I'm working with today pork. We use pork chops. You can use the pork shoulder. Pork chops are kind of dry typically. So when we salt them, brine them, and then cook them in the fat, they turn out amazing and they're very good. Plus, we can preserve them in the fat because the fat keeps oxygen out and protects them from breaking down. So we have these submerged in the fat so that nothing's sticking up. They're completely in the fat, and we're gonna put them in the oven for a couple hours and then show you how we pack them up for preservation.
You cut the meat, and then did you salt them for a certain amount of time, or what does that process look like?
Correct. So we had the whole loin, cut it into slices like we would for pork chops, and then it was a salt and spices mixture, no sugar, just salt and spices that we put on them. They stayed in for 2 days. Then I rinsed them, let them set overnight so that the salt would balance out in the meat, and now I'm doing them in the fat.
Okay, perfect. And was that a specific amount of salt? Like how much salt and spice should you put on?
Basically, they're dredged in the salt so that they're not cased in it, but they're completely covered. And that'll be enough salt to do the brining and keep them as preserved as what we need them with the salt.
Okay, so if you roll them in salt, that's about, you're gonna like pat them with salt?
That's probably about right.
Okay.
Yes, the recipe gives ratios, proportions, but rolled in salt is about right.
And what are you cooking? Are you cooking this meat to a certain temperature or for a certain amount of time?
Until it's tender.
Okay.
So the recipe for pork called for 2 to 3 hours. This is all lard today because we just killed the pig, we just processed the pig, and I have freshly rendered lard. We have fat pigs, and one of the reasons we do that is because we want all this fat. It is a boon to us. It helps us do what we need to do. However, you can also use tallow. I have used chicken fat. This jar here is confit chicken because you can do this process with just about anything. Chicken, beef, duck, goose, vegetables, pork. They all do this process really nicely, and any fat will work. To pack these for preservation, we're going to start with just pouring fat, and you can see there's still herbs in the fat. I can reuse this fat, any that we don't need. In fact, some of this fat, this is its second time around. Plus, it's really nicely seasoned to use for other cooking, other baking, well, maybe not baking unless it's roast vegetables, but frying eggs, you name it.
And I noticed you're putting in some of the fat first and then the meat?
Yeah. So in my experimentation, I discovered that if I put the meat in first and then the fat, I get air pockets around it. It'll trap air in there. If I put the meat in after the fat, I don't get the air in there. And the air is what causes issues, so you want it to be as solid as possible. You go to use it again, you can see this is all solid. You need to put it in hot water or something near something warm to soften up all the fat. It's easiest if you can get it to pretty much liquefy all the way through. So putting it in like a double boiler or putting it in hot water to get everything soft is about the best way to get your meat back out. You can not soften the fat all the way, in which case you'll end up just shredding it as you pull it out of the fat to get it out of the jar. We'll put the lid on this now, and it's good to go. It just needs to cool.
Alright guys, I know you're going to want to try that out, so when you do, go to the Anyone Can Farm Experience Tribe and drop a photo in there, because we always like to see you guys like using our recipes and doing the things that we're making videos on. So if you enjoyed this, give a like, subscribe if you want to, and we will catch you dudes in the next video.